of Allah, the most compassionate and most merciful, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His last and beloved Messenger Muhammad, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. This is the second episode in the program The Quran in Practice, and it's entitled How to Diagnose and Cure the Problem of the Widespread of Crime. Now, as was the case with the first episode, this episode will be divided into 4 sections. The first section will be presentation for the symptoms of this problem, and the second section will be how to diagnose this problem from the guidance of the Noble Quran, the last revelation of Allah, God to mankind. And the third section will be how to cure this problem from the guidance of the Quran. And the last section would be the Quran in practice, how to implement what's presented in real life scenarios. Now, to start with the symptoms of the problem of the widespread of crime. Now, the widespread of crime in communities, in societies, can be classified by having 3 main symptoms. The first one, the widespread of theft, the act of stealing. And the other one, the widespread of adultery and unlawful sexual relations. And the third symptom is the widespread of killing people unjustly. Now, these 3 symptoms are the main symptoms for the widespread of crime in communities, and they lead to all other categories of crime. Now, these are the symptoms, and we'll notice that they cause so much pain and torment and despair to an individual and to society. So we see that it's the act of an enemy for people and not a friend, because an enemy wants for you pain, despair and torment. Now, if we go to the Noble Quran to diagnose this, to know the cause for these symptoms, Allah Almighty gives us the answer to this question about the cause for these symptoms of the widespread of crime. As you can see on the screen, in the Noble Quran, in chapter 2, verses 168 and 169, states, O mankind, eat of that which is lawful and good on the earth, and follow not the footsteps of Satan. Verily, he is to you an open enemy. He commands you what is harmful, sinful, and say about Allah what you have no knowledge of. So, if we reflect and ponder upon the verse of the Noble Quran, and the key to understanding the Noble Quran is to ponder and reflect upon its verses, and not just merely reciting them. So Allah Almighty states, O mankind, O people. So here the problem is universal. Eat of that which is lawful and good, meaning follow the guidance of Allah God Almighty in the Noble Quran, and follow not the footsteps of Satan. So Allah Almighty here warns us not to follow the teachings of Satan. Verily, he is to you an open enemy. So Allah God Almighty here teaches us that the relationship between Satan and people, that Satan is an open enemy, he's an enemy for you. And an enemy wants pain, despair and torment for you. He doesn't want your happiness. Allah Almighty states in the next verse, he, i.e. Satan, commands you what is harmful, sinful, and say about Allah what you have no knowledge of. So Allah Almighty teaches us that Satan commands you what is harmful, i.e. to hurt yourself and others, and sinful, and say about Allah what you have no knowledge of. So if we compare the symptoms of the widespread of crime and the symptoms of and what Satan wants for people to do, we see a perfect match between the two. So we can conclude from this that the reason and the cause for the widespread of crime is Satan. Now, having said that, we need to understand where is Satan, how does he affect us, and how he can cause the widespread of crime. Now, the only book on the face of the earth that teaches you how does Satan affect you is the last revelation of Allah God Almighty to people, the Noble Quran. Now, Allah Almighty teaches us what is Satan, how does he affect us, by pondering upon 4 verses of the Noble Quran. The first of which, as you can see, in verse 16 of chapter 50 of the Noble Quran, which states, and indeed Allah God has created man, and he knows what his own self whispers to him, and Allah God is nearer to him than his jugular vein. From this Quranic verse we can conclude that every person has a voice of oneself. This is the voice you speak with and the same voice you hear in your head when you're thinking quietly to yourself. And that's normal, and that's the voice of oneself. The other Quranic verse to ponder about is verse number 38 of chapter 4 of the Quran, which states, "And those who spend of their substance to be seen of men, and believe not on Allah, God, and the last day, and whoever takes Satan as a companion, then what a dreadful companion he has." So we can conclude from this Quranic verse that every person has a companion devil, which is a devil assigned to you at birth and stays with you till death. It's a companion to you in your earthly journey. So how does this companion devil affect you? We can learn the answer for this in the Noble Quran in chapter 17 verse 64, which states, "And before them gradually those whom you can among them with your voice, make assault on them with your imaginations and your induced feelings, mutually share with them wealth and children, and make promises to them, but Satan promises them nothing but deceit." So Allah Almighty teaches us that this companion devil, he tries to trick you, he befools you with his voice, which means that this companion devil, he talks to you like a person talks to you. So he tries to trick you and befool you with his voice, with the thoughts contained in his voice to you. Now, what is this voice? Where is this voice of Satan? Where is the voice of my companion devil? Allah Almighty teaches us the answer for this in the Noble Quran in chapter 114 verse 4, which states, "From the evil of the whisperer who hides." Now Allah Almighty teaches us that your companion devil, he talks to you like a person talks to you, but at the same time he hides from you, which means that he does not want you to feel his presence. So how can he accomplish this? The only way he can accomplish this from a scientific point of view, if he matches his voice with regards to tone, speed, and languages you know, to the one you hear in your head, to the voice of yourself, and an idea pops up in your head, and you think that yourself is telling you this, while actually it's your companion devil. And you can distinguish between your thoughts and those of your companion devil by analyzing the contents of the thought. So if the thought contains ideas of harm, to hate yourself and others, ideas of lust and perverse sexual ideas, and to say about Allah what you have no knowledge of, then the source of these ideas is your companion devil, not yourself. Now, how does your companion devil cause you to commit stealing, theft, to commit adultery and killing? Now Allah Almighty gives us the answer in the Noble Quran in chapter 2 verse 268, which states, "Satan promises you poverty and commands you sinful acts, while Allah God Almighty promises you forgiveness and bounty from Him, and Allah encompassed all things, all knower." So Allah Almighty teaches us, look at the beauty of the Noble Quran, that Satan promises you poverty and commands you to perform sinful acts. Now if we analyze these words, how does Satan promises you poverty? Your companion devil comes to you with a voice identical to the one you think with and you hear in your head, and tells you, for example, as if you are thinking to yourself with these ideas, telling you that you will become poor, calamities will befall you. So the way out of this is to steal. If you steal money, then you will be rich, and this poverty will be removed. This promised poverty will be removed. This fear of poverty will be removed. So we see the beauty of the last revelation of Allah, God, the Noble Quran, that your companion devil, he talks to you in your head as if you are talking to yourself, and he makes you fearful of becoming poor, and he gives you the ways out of it by